What happened in this dramatic siege in Idaho is absolutely heartbreaking and infuriating in equal measures. It was 1983 in rural Idaho. Andy and Vicky Weaver were a very religious couple. The pair had read The Late Great Planet Earth, and this caused the pair to gain more Christian fundamentalist beliefs. They believed the world was about to end. Vicky had been having visions in which God had told her to take her family to the west. Randy believed that he and his family needed to live on Ruby Ridge. Now, this was a property in the middle of nowhere, south of the Canadian border. They lived there with their children, Sarah, Sammy, and Rachel. They also shared their home with a man called Keith Harris, whom they had looked after since he was young. They were extremely cut off from normal society and had strict Christian views. Now, later that decade, Randy became wanted by police. He'd attended a white supremacist group meeting. A man there named Kenneth happened to be an undercover agent. He got talking with Randy, who offered to sell him some sawn-off shotguns. Now, Kenneth got Randy on tape secretly. Randy was stating that he could provide him with all sorts of illegal weapons. This obviously meant Randy was now in trouble with the law. He was wanted on felony weapons charges. When he failed to turn up in court, officers wondered how they could arrest him. Now, obviously they knew that Randy had loads of illegal weapons on his property. He also had children there too, which made the operation really dangerous. Vicky actually started writing letters to the agents who had made contact with Randy, and she told them, "Whether we live or whether we die, we will not bow to your evil commandments." In 1991, the family welcomed a new baby. The agents knew that this was a very risky operation if they were going to try and apprehend Randy. However, they continued to watch the family, record their movements, and hover overhead in a helicopter. Things would come to a head on the 21st of August, just after 10 a.m. US Marshals arrived at Ruby Ridge. The family dogs actually alerted the owners to somebody else on the property. One dog started running into the woods and Randy followed. His son, Sammy, and Kevin also ran too. A really chaotic shootout took place in the woods. It began with one of the marshals, and trigger warning for animals here, shooting dead the family dog. Now, this was obviously just so unnecessary. And then 14-year-old Sammy, who was trying to run away at this point, was also shot by the US Marshals. Kevin Harris then shot back at the marshals and killed one of them, William Deegan. Kevin and Randy fled back to the cabin and the marshals retreated. But this was far from over, and the following day the hostage rescue team was sent in by the FBI. A siege began. Now, a huge team was sent in because the FBI mistakenly thought that they were up against a huge anti-government organization. They didn't realize it was just a little family. Hundreds of federal agents and officers ended up there with helicopters flying overhead. A protest actually formed outside Ruby Ridge of members of the public. They were really opposing to the officers being there. Snipers were camped outside waiting for any kind of movement from the cabin. This is when Randy came outside. Kevin and his daughter walked close by. Then gunfire. Randy had been shot. He collapsed to the floor and the two people he was with ran inside. Randy managed to get back to the cabin just as Vicky came to the door. The snipers then shot at her, despite the fact that she was unarmed and she was holding a 10-month-old baby. Vicky was killed. Randy and Kevin had both been injured in the gunfire. Now, Kevin's injuries were so critical he almost died. After an agonizing 11 days in total, the standoff came to a close. A negotiator eventually convinced Randy to let Kevin get treated for his injuries. The following day, Randy and his daughters surrendered. Randy and Kevin were both later put on trial for the murder of the US Marshal, but were acquitted. Randy's family filed wrongful death claims and got $3 million. The surviving members of the family eventually moved to Montana, and Randy passed away from an illness in May 2022 at the age of 74.